Today I'm speaking with Tim Chantarangsu, formerly Timothy DeLaGhetto. In my eyes, Tim is the perfect example of a content creator who has mastered the art of patience. He has figured out this elusive equation that we all strive for, that is, quality plus consistency equals long-term growth. Tim has amassed a social media following of over 2 million fans, and his YouTube channels have over 5 million subscribers, with over 1 billion total YouTube views. He was a cast member on MTV's hit show Wildin' Out, one of my favorites, and has just joined MTV's new ridiculousness spinoff called Deliciousness. Early in Tim's career, he co-founded Goody Brand, a clothing line that, speaking of longevity, was established nearly a decade ago and still grows month after month to this day. He's somebody that I consider a true friend, a behind-the-scenes mentor, and somebody that I always look for advice on how to keep going on this sometimes lonely path of creating content. This was a much-needed, light-hearted conversation with a friend, and I really hope you enjoy it. Finally, to celebrate the new show, I'm giving away a PlayStation 5 to one of my viewers. All you have to do is like and subscribe. That's it. Details in the comments. Now please welcome Timothy Chantarangsu to the Welcome Home podcast. I know a million YouTubers that would be like, if I had what Tim has, it's over. I'm happy for life. Do you battle with this never satisfied mentality? It's got to be tough to turn off.
Yeah, see that's the thing. It's like, I'm not satisfied, but I'm definitely happy. All right, like, and I do make sure I take moments to really like stop and take a deep breath and look around and appreciate what I've accomplished and like what I have. It's usually always when I'm like looking at some type of like skyline or some shit. Like when I'm having like a really nice like dinner on a roof. I'm like, man, wow, this is good. I did good. You know what I'm saying? And I like have to remind myself, like, hey man, don't get so caught up in the fucking struggle that like you neglect the blessings. You know what I'm saying? I always take time to count my blessings, but I also
Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, but I also, I still feel like I'm just really getting started, you know?
Do you remember a seemingly small moment, or like your first brand deal or your first big YouTube check where you were like, holy shit, I made it, or your first TV appearance? Do you remember one of those small things that looking back wasn't a big deal, but it was a huge deal to you?
Yeah, I mean, I do. When you say that, the first thing I think of is so when I got fired from my job as a waiter, at a pizza place restaurant, I that week I had just won a YouTube contest, and my audience wasn't huge back then, but I still, I had like maybe like a couple 100,000 subscribers. I think like it wasn't crazy, but it was like it was, I had a following. You know what I'm saying? And that week that I got fired, I won a YouTube contest for like 15 G's, and I was like, oh, this is a sign from the universe. This is like a sign from God. Like, so, and I was able to use that money to, not worry about a job and just kind of like go hard on the YouTube stuff. And I remember being like, oh man, and like that was the last week that I ever had to like work a real job. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, oh, okay, this is a blessing. You know?
That's a big moment. I know the story of why you got fired, but can you explain the getting fired from the pizza kitchen story?
Yeah, yeah. So I was a server at California Pizza Kitchen. You guys have those in Canada yet?
No, I don't think so.
Ah,
I'm in
okay.
Toronto right now and I haven't seen one.
It's delicious. So I was bored at work one day, and the uniforms used to be white button ups, red tie, black pants. I thought that shit was smooth. And then one day I heard they were switching to all black, black button up, black tie, black pants, and like that's dope now. Like I would love that outfit now, but back then I was like, I don't feel like wearing all black. Like I like the current uniforms, you know. So I just bored at work. Literally, I tweeted them, and I was like, black button ups are the lamest shit ever. Thinking like, who's gonna see this tweet? Because Twitter wasn't nearly as poppin' back then as it is now, you know. So, and then someone DM'd me from that Twitter and was like, "Oh, thank you for your opinion on our new uniforms. What store do you work at?" And I was like, "Oh shit!" Deleted my tweets immediately. I was like, "Oh fuck, let me get out of here." And then, but there, see, and the thing about it is, there's no information about me on my Twitter back then, but there was a link to my YouTube, and on my YouTube it said I was from Long Beach. So somebody from CPK, California Pizza Kitchen, called the like general manager at all the Long Beach area CPKs and was like, "Yo, do you know this kid?" And she was like, "Yeah, that's Tim." And they're like, "Well, you got to fire him." So they fired me for that tweet and a tweet where I said, "Time to go to work at California Pizza Kitchen." They didn't like that. And yeah, so apparently there was something in the handbook that says like you're not allowed to publicly badmouth the company in any way, shape, or form. So that's what I
Was
did.
your Twitter like kind of popping for them to see it, or were you just like 1,000 followers and they just caught it because Twitter wasn't?
No, it's because I had tweeted them and then they went and like went to my shit and just was just going through my tweets, I guess.
So one day, my manager Eric texts me and he says, "Yeah, watch this new video." He's like, "Watch this music video. I think Director X shot it. It's crazy. These guys are brilliant." And I'm watching this. It's Drake, DJ Khaled, Justin Bieber, and I'm watching it, thinking, "Oh, this is a really cool concept. This is an amazing video." And I'm like
Yeah.
squinting, and I'm like, "What the hell is Tim doing in this Justin Bieber music video right now?" Can you walk me through how you get that call, what that shoot day is like, and how many people probably called you seeing you in the background there?
I'll walk you through this shit right now because it's the funniest shit. I was literally just at home with wifey. We were like, I don't know, eating dinner or like watching Netflix or something. And I get a call from King Batch. King Batch never calls me. He'll always just text me, right? He calls me and he's like, "What you doing Thursday?" And I actually had a little random shoot scheduled on Thursday. I was like, I don't know why. What's up? And he's like, "How would you feel about being in a Drake video with Justin Bieber?" And I was like, "I guess." And I was like, "Nah, yeah, I'm down, of course." Apparently, Director X, who's a nice guy, he's also cool with Batch and like we're cool too, but like, X hit up Batch and was like, "Yo, can you get together like a nice little diverse group of dudes to play Bieber's entourage?" And so I'm kind of like the go-to Asian, you know what I'm saying? So Batch hit me up, and that was that. We showed up, did the on-site Rona test, and you know, all the dancers did the on-site Rona test. Like everybody was at the party, tests, and then once they're cleared, we took like a shuttle to this like huge house in Hollywood, and yeah, it was a long day. It was a fun day. It was a fun day. It was cool. Bieber's a nice guy. Let me tell you one of the funny moments from the video shoot. This was like we'd already been on set like all day. It was nighttime. Everybody was taking like a little pizza break, and it was me and the guys in the entourage just in this like the living room of this mansion, right? And we're eating pizza, chilling. It's quiet because no one's shooting right now. And Justin finds a piano in the living room, and he's just like on the piano, like playing Boys to Men songs while we're like chilling, eating pizza. And at one point, he stops and he's like, "All right, guys, like, what's a song we all know so we can like, so you guys can like sing with me?" And then, and then we're just like chilling, listening to Bieber play piano and eating pizza. I was like, "Wow, this is like surreal."
That's like a moment that's gonna last forever, like a pop culture moment. How many people were like hitting you up, calling you when they saw you in the background there?
A lot of people, man. A lot of people were in my DMs. A lot of texts. It's funny because I had announced that my wife was pregnant like that week as well when the video dropped. I probably announced it like a few days before the video dropped, and I felt like people were more hyped about me being in this Drake video than the fact that I was having a baby.
No, that was an iconic moment, man, and that it felt like it felt like just a weird win when you see someone that
Right.
it was known for YouTube, someone for making out of mainstream content
Right.
peek into the real world mainstream. So that was a really cool moment. But I know Tim from traffic, from music.
Yeah.
And music's been a huge part of your come up, and it's still it still is a part of your life and a big passion of yours. So I wanted to ask you about why Wildin' Out was so important for you, because you were
Mm.
there for a while, why you ended up
Hmm.
stepping away, and what your relationship is with Wildin' Out as a whole.
Yeah, Wildin' Out was definitely a big part of like of my life. It was I like here's the thing, right? Because I was on the reboot of Wildin' Out. Because Wildin' Out was on like maybe like 5 years before I was on it. It was already a show on MTV, and I remember thinking like, oh man, I would be so good on this show because like it's rap and it's comedy, and I do both. You know what I'm saying? And then it went away for whatever reason, and when they rebooted it, I was like, oh shit, okay, here we go. Here's my chance to get on it. And do you know how I got on it? Actually, do you know that story? Okay, so somebody tweeted me and they're like, "Hey, yo, Tim's Nick Cannon's bringing Wildin' Out back." I was like, "Oh shit!" So I followed Nick Cannon on Twitter, and then one day he tweeted, "Who's the funniest person online? Whoever has the most retweets of hashtag Wildin' Out needs me. I'll audition personally." So I already kind of had my audience, so I had them retweet. And then so I got a DM from Nick's people who were like, "Yo, if you're serious about auditioning, contact this person." And so I went to the audition, and then it's like a room of like 6 people and Nick Cannon. Nick actually knew me as Traffic before I walked in because he was managing an artist named Colette Carr, and Billboard maybe like a year or two before that had released a list called the Uncharted chart, where it was only people who were doing music like online, and I was number one on that list when it came out, and his artist was like number 2 or 3. So I think he was already checking out the list and had seen me. So when I walked in, he was like, "Traffic." I was like, "Oh shit." So did the audition, which was like they tell you to, we play some improv games and they have you rap, or whether you want to freestyle or spit some writtens, and then they go like they do some shit like, okay, Kevin Hart is in front of you right now, diss him, wild style, and then you make up some shit, and then we had a group audition maybe like a week or two later, and then they called me up and said I was on the show, which was dope, especially since I feel like after years of being on YouTube and telling people, watch you guys, I'm going to be on TV, I'm going to do this, this, and that. When there are so many people just strictly doing online content, and then when you see somebody cross over like that, it's like, it was just kind of like I felt validated, you know what I'm saying? Like I felt like, see, I told y'all I was going to do this shit, and now I'm on TV. Look. So and plus it adds a nice something to the resume when like I feel like it's a lot of people doing online shit, but when I can be like, yeah, I was on this hit MTV show for like 6 years, 8 seasons, then it's like, oh, okay, he can perform on both sides of the spectrum.
I was going to ask you actually about how Hollywood or establishments can validate us in an almost irrational way. And
Right.
I'm very guilty where I'll have a song with a few million streams on Spotify, but when one pop radio station plays my song, I'm shouting them out on my story and I'm excited, oh, we
Yeah.
got a radio ad. And as someone with, I believe, over a billion YouTube views combined, why did MTV validate you when it was probably a very small portion of the actual reach?
Yeah, you know what, man? I kind of just feel like it goes back to me feeling like, I grew up before the internet was a thing. And I think for that generation of people, it's like you have this idea already of what like success is, and what like constitutes you made it. You know what I'm saying? And like, yeah, with YouTube, yeah, I was like traveling the world and like performing for like thousands of people, and I was making money and shit. But at the same time, there's still sometimes you still are like, but this is just the internet. I wanna do the mainstream shit, even though like nowadays, yes, it's kind of irrelevant, especially when these kids are growing up in a world where they're kind of holding online celebrities on the same, if not a higher level than mainstream celebrities, you know? And it's like when a lot of these, especially like these online people, yeah, they might be making more money than like people you see on a TV show, you know what I'm saying? But for me, I was always like, I especially wanted to show people that, hey man, um, I am gonna do everything which I set out to do, which was like TV, movies, and you know, I always kind of looked at the internet as a stepping stone. I never thought it was gonna be like my like career, you know. And I'm like forever like grateful and blessed to what like that has done for me. But I'm still like I'm trying to be mainstream with it still, you know.
I always found that really fascinating because I do it in my own life where something that has 1% of the reach or 1% of the financial reward, but it's established media, so it's exciting. You'll do a
Right.
morning radio show, even though it might have 2,000 person reach live. So I always wonder kind of where that goes. But then again, I was so excited to see you in the Justin Bieber Drake
Right.
video. Why is that? After I've seen 10 years of your stuff, so it's really interesting. I'd ask you, Nick Cannon seems like this like very wise character. What is an interesting piece of advice or some wisdom that he gave you over the many years you guys were together?
You know, Nick is just a really nice guy, you know. And I think one thing that I learned from Nick, not even necessarily just from his mouth, is that like because he works so hard. You know what I'm saying? Nick has like so many shows and so many things that he owns. Like he's so rich, but he's such a nice guy. And and being on Wildin' Out with Nick and seeing that like, you know, every episode people roast his music and they roast his movies, but at the end of the day, it's like Nick knows that him being able to even like stand up there and take this joke, he still wins. You know what I'm saying? It's like whether you're clowning him or not, at the end of the day, it's on his hit TV show that he produced and owns. It's like yeah, you can talk your shit, but he still wins. You know
Hell
what I'm
yeah.
saying? And I think that's what I kind of took from Nick, where it's like, um, it's like yeah, people are gonna say what they're gonna say, but they can't change how hard you work and like and what you put into it. You know what I'm saying? As long as you work and get your own shit done, people are always gonna like talk shit, but they can't take that from you. You know what I'm saying? You still win at the end of the day, you know?
What were the feelings leaving Wildin' Out? What was I imagine that was such a big part of your life. What are you thinking when you leave? And was it a mutual or were you already becoming distant?
Yeah, I describe it to people as like a mutual breakup, you know? Cause I was in the group chat with the Wild 'N Out homies like for like 2 years. I say being like, all right, y'all, this is my last season. I'm done after this season. I'm out, and they were always like, yeah, whatever, whatever. And then actually the 1 year that I was like, okay, I'm gonna do one more season and then I'm out. I was actually in Vancouver with
Oh,
Chia, and then I got a text from one of the producers. He was like, hey, can you talk on the phone tomorrow? And I was like, I know what this is, bro. I know what this means. I'm like, yes, but if this is what I think it is, then you owe me dinner. You know what I'm saying? And like I always describe it to people like when you're in a relationship and you know you want to break up, but you can't take that step and do it. Like the girl hasn't necessarily done anything bad, but you just know that you want to get out. And then one day she's like, "Hey, I don't think this is working out," and you're like, thank you. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I describe it to people. Like I was ready to go, but at the same time, I wasn't really ready to pull the band-aid off. And then when I got the text, I was like, okay, cool, this is good. Um, and I honestly was just kind of, even though I loved my time on Wild 'N Out, and everybody there is dope, and it was great for like just to put that stamp on my career. Um, I just I was feeling like I already kind of did what I could on the show. You know what I'm saying? Like, um, there's only so many Asian jokes, And I was like, I feel like they hit me with all the Asian jokes, and I feel like I repped for my people and rebutted every Asian joke. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like it was just getting a little redundant for me. But so I felt when it ended, I was like, okay, this is right. You know what I'm saying? And I actually, I went back and I did a couple more episodes because they were doing like an old school versus new school situation. And then after that, they asked me to come back again permanently. And I thought about it. I was like, shit, should I just do it? And I was like, no, 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 I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. Everything happens for a reason. I already made this decision. I'm gonna stick to it. And then the whole shit got canceled anyway. So
You're my guy. I'm not here for the clickbait, but I had a friend ask me if you could recount the Azealia Banks story because I I know you were on set. It was very confusing. Even when I was doing some research for it, it still felt very confusing as I'm reading articles. So, what exactly happened? What did it feel like to be on set, trying to keep people's morale up? The crowd is, I'm sure, uncomfortable. Walk me through that if you can.
yeah, man. I mean, long story short, you know, we're all on stage, and this was in Atlanta, and you know, shout out to Azealia Banks. I feel like she's a talented lady.
Super talented.
Um, and so we were playing this game called. We actually made the game different for her because we made a game. They called it So Petty. All right, where you would be like, oh, so and so, Nick Cannon is so petty that he made Mariah sign a prenuptial agreement or some shit like that, right? So we thought like, oh, with how like sassy Azealia Banks is online, this will be great for her. You know what I'm saying? And then so DC made a joke, DC Young Fly, where he was like, "Yo, Nick Cannon is so petty. He couldn't get Cardi B on the show, so he had to get yo ugly ass right to
Oh,
Azealia Banks." And I think she took it personal. You know what I'm saying? Because he called her ugly, but at the same time, it's a roast show. And so while we are up there on stage, as soon as DC said that joke, Azealia Banks was like, I don't know about you guys, but that seemed pretty anti-black. And I was like, and as soon as she said that, I was like, oh shit, this is about to go left. And if you watch that episode and you see my face, I'm like, oh my god. So we kept playing the game, but she kept trying to go in on DC some more, like saying, like that he was broke and he could only afford a one bedroom apartment. And then DC's like confused. He's like, yo, is she still coming after me? What's going on? and and so we basically, they basically had to stop the whole show for like an hour to like kind of calm her down. They got her a little drink. I think Nick went and talked to her. I'm not exactly sure what happened when he was talking to her, but I just went and like sat in the audience for a little bit. I was just chilling, and I was like, yo, this is awkward. And the audience members I was next to were like, yeah, man. Like everybody in the audience was like, yo, what the fuck? She's taking this shit mad serious. And here's the thing, right? Like after we filmed that episode, I knew that the editors were gonna be able to cut it so it looked like there was no drama, and she was just she was just roasting, and then they could probably throw in some laugh tracks. They could have cut it to make it look good. But then like she went on social media and was just saying that like she was set up, and she didn't know it was she didn't know it was that kind of show. She thought it was a kids show.
wow.
And then because of that, and then she started saying, talking about Nick Cannon's lupus, and because of that, I was like, and I was texting my producer homegirl, and she told me, she was like, yeah, we're gonna release the whole thing uncut, so people see what really happened. You know what I'm saying? And when you watch it, you're like, oh shit, yeah, she kind of took this shit real serious.
It seems incredibly bizarre that either she didn't know what Wild 'N Out was, or her PR team or the publicist at the label didn't say, "Hey, you're going on a comedy show. You're gonna get roasted." It's very bizarre to me that she wasn't aware of what she was walking into.
Yeah, man, and I'm like, hey, man, it was a long time ago. Shit happens. Shout out to Azealia Banks. I don't know, man.
So, Why do you retire the name DeLaGhetto?
Yeah, I had a lot of reasons for retiring the name DeLaGhetto. I had already been kind of thinking about it for a while now. And then I thought like, but then I, I was like, ah, it's my branding, and this is how people know me. But I was already kind of thinking like, I kind of want to start, using my real name, but I didn't know if it was the right step. And then during the quarantine, I kind of had this like epiphany, you know what I'm saying, where I was like, if I died, let's say I caught the Rona and died, like I would be remembered forever as Timothy DeLaGhetto. And I was like, do I want to be remembered by my stage name, And especially when my whole like MO is like trying to make Asian people like be proud of where they came from and rep for Asian dudes. And I just started thinking about how like, originally I thought I should get a stage name because I didn't think people would be able to remember or pronounce my long ass last name, Chantarangsu. So I thought like, but I don't need a stage name, because I started thinking like, if I really get to the level that I see myself getting to, then people will have no choice but to know my name and pronounce it correctly, like Arnold Schwarzenegger or or
There's a million examples. Once you get to a
yeah.
certain level, they'll figure it out. They have to, right?
Yeah, man, or Milo Ventimiglia, or Jack Black. I was like,
There is something just like beautiful and authentic about not having a stage name. I've always felt like it's like there's something, I don't know, liberating in a weird way where it's like, yo, this is on my birth certificate, man. Like figure it out.
yeah, man, and I kind of wanted to make other kids that like felt like, oh, you can't pronounce my last name because it's too long or too ethnic or whatever, feel like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, pronounce my last name. Remember that shit. And the thing is too, like De La Ghetto comes from an episode of The Fresh Prince,
Of
right?
course.
And I've spent like majority of my career being like, I'm gonna be the Asian Fresh Prince. I'm gonna do this, or I'm gonna be the Asian Will Smith. I'm gonna do everything Will Smith did. And then I thought like, let me stop trying to, build a legacy off trying to be my version of this, and let me just be this, you know what I'm saying? Let me build my own legacy. And also it was like, and also there was the issue of the younger kids not knowing it comes from the Fresh
Of
Prince
course.
and being like, oh, okay, why is he calling himself Ghetto? What is he trying to do? And like, what is he, and then I get with the occasion hit with the occasional appropriation, and people were saying like, why is he calling himself De La Ghetto? Blah blah blah, and I'm like, and the older I get, the least people are like, the fewer people are watching Fresh Prince and know that it's from the Fresh Prince. So I was like, let me just do what I've been trying to do, and make the change, and and go from there.
I've heard you so many times over the years talk about like repping for Asian Americans and being that guy on YouTube or on TV. Do you want that to be your legacy overall? And do you believe you get the credit that you probably deserve for repping so hard? Because I've heard you talk about this 5 years ago on YouTube videos and in interviews.
Yeah, I don't want it to be the only part of my legacy. Like at the end of the day, um, like it's definitely a part of what I do, right? I want to rep for my peoples. I want to make Asian people proud to be Asian people. I want Asian dudes to like be sexy out here in these streets, and be confident. Um and it's a big part of what I do. It's not like, I wouldn't say it's what I want like on my like tombstone, you know what I'm saying? But but it's definitely something that is important to me, especially during these times where it's like, I feel like people, with so many Asian Americans getting like harassed for the COVID shit, for the Rona shit, and like, um, and I think it's a time to really like show that like you can't just make fun of Asian people like that and not suffer any consequences. Like I feel like Asian people have been are known for being so like timid and quiet over the years, and I think there's like a revolution, not so much a revolution, but like people are not gonna be quiet anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Hell yeah.
And but to also answer your question, I also feel like people do sleep on me still. Like when they think of like Asian people repping, I think a lot of people still forget, and I think a lot of Asian, like a lot of like woke Asians, or like they'll forget that I'm Asian. You know what I'm saying? Or they'll forget what I've been doing for my people for so long. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like funny, or because I don't necessarily. I'm not saying like I'm not screaming Asian pride in every video. I think they still forget what I've actually done, you know?
I mean, one of the things that I've been thinking about as we've been talking is you might not get your credit, and I'm trying to put my finger on why maybe in that way. Is it because you've been around for so long, people are taking you for granted? Because now that I have a little bit, I get to peek behind the scenes and I get to see what the industry is and just how rare and how hard it is to do what you've done. For someone that knows maybe showbiz, I'm like, yo, Tim is one of the goats for what he's done for 10 years. But have people kind of taken you for granted in that capacity because you've been so consistent, because we've seen your face?
You know what? I think they sleep. I get slept on for a lot of shit, right? I get slept on musically. That's kind of my fault because like I'm not very consistent. But like the people that in terms of my music, I haven't put out an album in like 7, 8 years, But the people that do f with the music know I got bars. Uh, they'll sleep on me, like Asian people, like the Asian people that know me know what I've done and what I've accomplished. But I do also feel like there's a whole generation that I don't know, man. Maybe it is what you said. Maybe it's because I've been around for so long they forget that I've been here. And I also feel like since I'm not like since it's not like on my forehead, they'll forget. And I think because I started off kind of just doing content just to make everybody laugh. It wasn't necessarily like, oh, like Asian this and Asian that. I think, sometimes they'll forget, but also there's a lot of people that do, show love and respect and do appreciate what I've done. And, it's been a long time. So
Hell yeah. Do you think there's an element of, because you are a funny person, because you are almost comedy first, does the average consumer have a hard time relating to music or an artist because they might think you're a comedic rapper? Do you know what I mean? Even though you're very much not?
yeah, for sure. I mean, that's why I had the two names at first. That's why I was Traffic and Timothy DeLaGhetto, because I didn't want people to think that I was a comedy rapper. You know what I'm saying? So I would do the comedy as Timothy DeLaGhetto, and when I put out music, it was as Traffic. And then I feel like I got to a point where enough people knew me that I didn't need to do that anymore, where they could just be like, oh, okay, he does comedy, but also he has bars, like for real bars, And I just didn't want to confuse people. But for sure there are people that like, I mean, and it's natural, you know what I'm saying? I had a difficult time listening to Childish Gambino at first because I kind of grew up, not grew up, but I watched a lot of Donald Glover like sketches online back when he was doing just YouTube sketches, you know what I'm saying? So when he started making music, it took me a second to disassociate and really be able to like look at him as a musician, So I understand. Um, and that's gonna happen. But I feel like just the other day I saw a tweet that was like, "Wait, why didn't anyone tell me that Timothy DeLaGhetto's music is actually good?" You know what I'm saying? I think it's easy to be like, "Oh, another comedian thinks he can rap," because they also don't know that I've been rapping for a long time. So
So you're born and raised in California,
I was born, I was raised in California,
raised in California. Where were
but
you
I was
born?
born in Billings, Montana.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you're raised in California. I wanted to have kind of the LA conversation. I'm sure you're aware that LA has been getting like a ton of heat. Whenever I call some of my like songwriter friends from LA, they're like, "Yo, I moved to Nevada. I moved to Miami. I moved to Austin." There's a lot of people that don't see Hollywood as valuable to move to anymore. And I wanted to ask you, like in 2021, with the ability to do things like this, and do you believe Hollywood is a mandatory staple for someone in the middle of America, middle of Canada? I got to go to Hollywood to make it. Do you think it's still how it was maybe 5 years ago?
I think first of all, let me say this. I'm like anybody talking shit about LA isn't from LA. Anybody saying that LA is like too Hollywood and it's fake, it's these are the people who moved to LA from fucking, you know, Oshkosh, Wisconsin, or fucking I don't know. What's a random city in Toronto, or like what's a random from fucking Kitchener,
Kish.
who come to LA to pursue the Instagram Kim Kardashian dream that they see in the movies. They come here for 2 years. They only talk to other people that did the same shit because they always wind up living in the same area, going to the same rooftop like events to meet the same fucking people that are pretending to be popping for Instagram likes, that are exchanging business cards, surrounding themselves with fake people. And then they talk about LA saying it's fake and they get mad because they didn't pop off. And they're saying it's too expensive. I moved here. Everybody's fake. I can't, But it's like you didn't move to LA to make lifelong friends, bro. You moved out here to pursue an entertainment career. So why are you mad that you didn't fucking become best friends with somebody? You know what I'm saying? And then they get mad and they blame LA for like their failures, all right? I'm from here, homie. My crew is from here, bro. It's like it's real ass people in LA that aren't fake, that are working to get what they want. You know what I'm saying? Not just fucking schmoozing and taking Instagram pictures. So I feel like everybody that gets mad at LA is just I always put it to you like this, all right? Check this out. Here's the metaphor, okay? It's like when you see a sexy ass girl on Instagram, right? That's LA. And then dudes will go up to her, try and talk to her because she's hot, but they not really trying to get to know her. And then when she says, "Bro, I'm not trying to fucking talk to you because you like my picture on Instagram," they're like, "Fuck that bitch, bro. She was fake as fuck. She's conceited." That's people coming to LA.
I would ask you, so is Hollywood as hot as it looks on Instagram? Is that girl that looks really hot on Instagram, when they go there, is it as necessary for young creators, young artists, young actors, actresses? Is Hollywood worth that stress still?
Oh, but to answer your question, after my tangent, I don't necessarily feel like. I mean, it depends on what you want to do. If you really want to pursue an acting career, I think that moving to LA is definitely a step that you should take because this is where all the casting directors are. This is where all the auditions are. I mean, things are different now that we're living in a Zoom Corona world where all the auditions are self tapes now. People have auditioned through Zoom. Like shit's different. When I see people that are like popping on like TikTok move to LA, I'm like, for what? You know what I'm saying? Like, and I guess yeah, you can. There's kind of like they'll move into like hubs where it's like a lot of other TikTokers and they can collaborate and work together. But I don't necessarily see the reasoning for it if you're not trying to pursue other things, right? I think if you want to do TV movie shit, yeah, it's good to be in LA because everything is being filmed out here. Not even anymore. Now most of the shit's being filmed in like Atlanta because it's cheaper to shoot in Atlanta, or in Canada. A lot of people are just shooting in Canada. You know what? You don't even really need to be out here. Stay your ass out there in fucking Wisconsin, bro.
I love it, man. I love it. Regional question. This is something I always wonder, and I've heard you talk about it. You are you're now married. You have a child on the way. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you about the start a long distance relationship.
Mm.
I believe you were in California, she was in Toronto or somewhere in Canada. And in my head, I just picture, I'm like, what is it like to have a long relationship? I've never had one. I can't wrap my head around that. So, what advice would you give for like in a cross border relationship that worked out?
My brief advice is that and this is important in any relationship, but especially a long distance relationship, is of course communication. Especially in a long distance relationship, because if you don't trust and communicate with each other, then all your thoughts are always like, where is she? Who's she with? What is she doing? Oh my God, whose dick is she sucking right now? But it's like when when you have a long distance relationship, you have to trust that person, or else you'll go crazy. And for me and her, we not only did we just trust each other, we definitely were always like, hey, I'm gonna today, what are you doing today? I'm gonna be at work till from here to here. And oh cool, have a nice day, I'll text you on my break, whatever. And also, you cannot be an insecure person in a long distance relationship. You know what I'm saying? You can't be a needy ass person, because I've dated needy girls who it's like who like, if you don't text back right away, or fucking flipping out. You know what I'm saying? Like, for me and my wife, we did the long distance for like 6 7 years, and we were able to do that because I was like super independent, like only child. Like, I kind of like living alone for a long time. She also, like, she was the youngest, but she was kind of used to just doing her own thing as well. So it's like we didn't need to depend on somebody. It's like, if you're in a long distance relationship and you kind of feel like this other person is a crutch, it's never going to work. You need to be like self sufficient to make that work. So that way you don't have to always worry like, oh my God, when am I going to see you? When are we going to do this? And also, third thing is, you need money for a long distance relationship, because if we couldn't afford each other to see, like, I don't know, every 6 months to a year, I don't think that would have worked. The fact that we could, like, she had her salon that she owned, and I was doing my thing on YouTube, and we were able to not only like afford to fly to see to each other every month, but also that we could pick up and go whenever we wanted. Like, I didn't have to clock in, she didn't have to clock in. She owned her shit, so she could leave whenever, and I could leave whenever. We could just travel and see each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, that definitely helps.
Looking back, do you think that long distance for so many years ended up being a benefit and kind of like created the foundation for?
Yeah, totally. There was at one point, I think we were in like our third year into it, and I texted her and I was like, yo, do you ever feel like it's better that we're long distance right now? She was like, babe, I was just thinking that. Because she was handling her business, I was handling my business. And honestly, at that point in my life, I felt like even if I had a girl that was in the same city as me, I probably wasn't gonna be able to even see her as much. So, and in terms of like trust, I always tell people, I'm like, dude, because people will be like, aren't you afraid that she's like hooking up with some dude when you're not there? I'm like, bro, like, first of all, my girl is smart. Like, she could be living 10 minutes away from me, and if she wanted to suck some other dick right now, she could, and I would never find out. So it's like the distance is irrelevant.
So I wanted to wrap up on one big question. You've been in YouTube for nearly 15 years. I wanted to talk a lot about consistency and longevity, which I think we did. Where do you see yourself 15 years from today? What brands are you starting? What movies are you starring in? What's the 15-year vision? Because I just see this going up for you every year.
Thanks, man. Well, this year specifically, I think should be a really good year. A psychic told my mom that this year was going to be one of my best years. So we'll see what happens. And man, in terms of like in 15 years, I from here and 15 years from now, I think I will have definitely written and produced and starred in some type of movie by then. I think it's just everything I'm doing now, but elevated to where I want it to be. You know, like I've been in a couple movies, but it's all like little side parts, couple scenes here and there. I definitely see myself starring in some shit by then. Um, and I would and and I've really been thinking about um, launching some type of food situation as well, because that's like a big part of what I do now. Um, Man, in 15 years, I'll definitely be like gray, a little gray by then. So hopefully I'll be owning and producing a lot more shit too. Um, and I'll have some kids, more kids by then, I think. Um, and here's what I'm really looking forward to. When I hit the level that I really want to get to, right? I'm talking about like A-list shit, right? Like movies and TV and all that. And then when I fall off, like Dancing with the Stars status, I cannot wait to be on a reality show. Because when I was really young, I really wanted to be on the Real World
Oh, wow.
and on a reality show. But then as I began to really know that I wanted to do acting, I was like, I can't do no reality shows because then I'm just going to be, yeah, because that's going to mess up my acting career. You know what I'm saying? They're going to see me as a reality person. So now I have to become super famous, then fall off so I can comfortably be in a reality show. And that's what I'm looking forward to as well.
I love it. Tim, the one thing I took away from today is that you take consistency very seriously, but you don't put a ton of pressure on the day to day. You don't put a ton of pressure on what's going to happen 1, 2, 3 years. You just put in the daily work and then you blink and we're having this conversation about your 15-year career. So I just thank you, man. This is really fun and you're an inspiration today and you're going to be inspiration for another decade. To celebrate the new podcast, I'm giving away a PlayStation 5 to one of my viewers. All you have to do is like and subscribe. That's it. Full details in the comments. Good luck.